Well, welcome back, family. This is the Talented 10th Financial Coach Jay coming back at you with some more content. I'm just back here, just chilling out for a moment after mowing my lawn, and so I'm not, I'm all wrinkled up and sweaty and all that. But I was just contemplating on something. I'm always thinking about these numbers. These numbers are very important, I think. I just want to draw on these numbers to paint a picture for you. The way that I learn, I like to draw from pictures. People painting pictures and showing numbers and graphs and different things like that because I grasp that. For me, I grasp that better. So I'm here to try to help you build some financial wealth in your life, or continue the wealth journey, or build upon whatever you're already doing, perhaps. I am not going to go into the 401k today, but I am going to just use some numbers that's going to really get you on fire, I believe, if you take heed to it. Got a little scenario I'm going to run on you with some numbers. And it's dealing with the Roth IRA because the Roth, once again, is tax free once you go to take the money out. So you're paying taxes now, just like you get paid and you do whatever with your money, you get taxed. Same thing, you're already paying taxes on it. Now let me put in something that's going to work for me with the compound growth on it. And when I go to pull it out later, guess what? I'll never be taxed on it. My beneficiaries will never be taxed on that money that I'm doing now, just by putting this money into this vehicle called the Roth 401k. And once again, we're going to use index funds. Why? Because index funds have lower fees. They have lower expense ratio. We don't have to pay all these high commission fees to someone to try to manage my money when I can put it into the index fund, a total stock market fund, with Vanguard, Fidelity, Charles Schwab, or whoever you choose. But make sure you're paying low fees, zero point zero 0.01, zero point zero 0.02, zero point zero 0.03, zero point zero 0.04, something like that, versus 1, 2, and 3 and 4% of my money. Because if I got a 1.5 million dollars and I got to pay expense ratio of 1 and 2 and 3% on that money versus zero point zero 0.01, 2, and 3 or 4, zero point zero 0.01, 2, or 3 or 4, which one you want to do? You tell me. You do the math. All right. So we got a scenario here. This is a real fun scenario, and I want to add this to just investment strategies that you can use. So once again, I'm back here. If you're just tuning in, I just finished mowing my lawn. I just want to come on the back and just relax. You know how it is after you mow your lawn and you relax. You're looking at your lawn and the lines are crisscrossing and all of that. Just I still want to push more. That's how I do it, and I have no problem with it. But so I'm just back here. It's a nice breeze. It's Memorial Day weekend, so you'll hear cars in the background driving around. You may hear some sirens or whatever's going on. People out doing whatever they do. I'm back here just chilling. I'm not the judge of what people are doing on Memorial Day weekend. Go figure. So let's look at this because I want you to catch hold of this. Now we got two gentlemen. They both 20 years old. The first gentleman name is John. The second gentleman name is James. So John went to the Talented 10 Financial Coach Jay's little talk, little seminar, talking about financial freedom and building generational wealth. And James went as well. John said, "Hey, James, man, I think we need to get started on this, man. We need to change our scenario, do something different, change it up from what we used to our family doing, just living off Social Security or just living off other family members." Okay, so both of the guys went to seminar, and Coach Jay, he was talking some good stuff to them. Talked about investing in their financial future, just doing a little bit now, and you can experience life on top later. Even with life experiences later, just do a little bit now, get a little bit aggressive now, and then you can stop at a certain point if you want, especially if you start early. It's called the power of compound interest, compound growth. Einstein said compound growth or interest is the eighth greatest wonder of the world. It's a great tool. The earlier you start, the more the compound will take place. So, both of these gentlemen, they left, and James was laughing. He was like, "Oh, ha, 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 ha. That was funny, man." He said, "Man, I'm going to live life. I am not going to be trying to put $500 into my Roth IRA now." And John said, "Well, I think I'm going to do it." And John said, man, I think I can do this. And he said compound interest. He said time plus compound interest. He said, well, I think I'm going to try for 10 years. And I was doing the math, and I think I'll be okay. We're going to assume a 10% rate of return on the money. So John said, okay, I'm going to get started. I'm going to do it. $500 a month. That's that's not approximately. That's $6,000 a year. And I'm going to do it for 10 years. So I'm going to put in $60,000 over that 10-year period. I'm going to stop. After that, I am probably going to have a promotion. I am going to just start living life. I'm going to start flying first class at the age of 30. I'm going to start going to Dubai and Budapest and all that. Because, I think I can live on that money once I reach the retirement age of 59 and a half. So just say 60. And I can start pulling that money out because it's under the Roth tax free. And John said, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. I'm going to go for it. So John started doing $500 a month from the age of 20, and he stops at the age of 30. $500 a month, $6,000 a year. That's $60,000 over that 10-year period. From the age of 20 to the age of 30, he stops completely. At the age of 30, with a 10% compound growth each year, assuming that's about the average rate for the S&P index fund. Once again, we're going with index funds. Why? Because index funds, they have lower fees that you're doing versus a managed mutual fund where, the fees could be between 1 and 10%. In an index fund, you're looking at some of them are zero. I got one that's zero, and 0.01, 0.02, 0.03 or 4. Okay, so we're going to index funds. So, once again, John does this for 10 years, from the age of 20 to the age of 30. 10% compound growth on that money, assuming $95,624.55. And he said, I'm done. So he's got that money in his account, and he's going to let that money sit from the age of 30 to the age of 60. Now, you can start pulling the money out, compound, interest-free, no early penalty at the age of 59 and a half. So he's just going to let it sit until 60. Okay? James, at this point, he's laughing at John. He said, ha, ha, ha. But watch this. John said, you know what? In addition to my job, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over here and drive part-time for Lyft or Uber, and I'm going to just take that money, not my salary money from my main job, but this extra money, and I am going to just invest in myself with my Roth IRA, $500. So once I get my $500, I'll put that in there, and then I'll just use the rest of it if I get more, or if I just cut back on the working for that month. Once I reach my $500, that's going directly to my Roth IRA. So James was just laughing. No, man, I'm gonna live life. So James said, I'll start at the age of 30. How about that, man? I want to experience some of this stuff now. So after that 10-year period, once again, John has $95,624.55 with a compound growth of 10% per year, and he's done. He said, I'm going to start doing my thing. First class, Budapest, weekends. I'm going to start living life. I'm not driving for Lyft or Uber anymore. Nah, I'm done with that. But I'm done investing in myself. I may start saving for a house or something like that, but I'm done investing in myself. So James, check this out. James does the same thing. He said, but he said, John, I'm gonna pass you up, man. $500 is done now. I've got a pay raise, and I'm gonna start doing my $500. The same thing you did, but I'm gonna do mine from the age of 30 to the age of 60. Same principle of the rate of return, 10%. So now watch this scenario. So John put in $60,000 of his money for that 10-year period. Now James, over this next 30-year period, he's putting in $180,000 of his money. At the end of his 30-year period, for that $500 a month, $6,000 a year over 30 years, 10% rate of return, his money, wow, now listen to this, it's pretty significant. $986,000, $964.14. Not bad. He said, hey, he said, John, he goes back to John at the age of 6. He said, John, check it out, man. I got almost $1 million. But John said, okay, let me open up my portfolio and show you what I have. And we're still assuming 10% growth, regardless of him not investing any more money into his account, into his Roth IRA. And both of them did Roth IRAs. So tax-free money as it comes out. He opens up his portfolio, Fidelity, FZROX. That's the index fund. Just using that as an example. $1,668,000, $591.24. So John is looking like, I try to tell you, man. He said, I only put in 60,000. You put in 3 times more than I did, 180,000. And my money is more than yours. Why? Because I started early and I stopped. And I just allow it to compound. James is like, man, I lost a bet. You beat me, even though I put in a lot more. But I started later, 10 years later, and he invested longer and put in more money. Once again, the same rate of return of 10%. They're in the same index fund investment, in their Roth IRA. Both of them have tax-free money once they pull it out, and that's great. But if you use a 4% rate of 4% rule of thumb, once they pull that money out, tax-free, interest-free, penalty-free at the age of 59 and a half, so they just said 60 years old, John is able to pull out more money, even with the 4% rule of thumb, because he's got a lot more in the principal. And watch this for both of these guys. Once again, tax-free once they go to pull it out, regardless of whatever else they have in other places, Social Security or whatever else is going on, once they start pulling Social Security out at the age of 62 or above. The power of time and compound growth, time and compound interest is powerful. Plus, when you add in the index funds, because there were lower fees. It's something about transforming your mind to say, you know what, I can do this for the good of my later self. John only did this for 10 years. James did it for 30 years. He started later and he never caught up. It's something about just the power of time and compound interest. James did it less amount of his money, 60,000. John did 180,000. He never caught up, even though he was investing the same amount of money over a 30-year period. But John had the advantage of a longer time frame and less money he put in because he started early. He started at 20 years old. James started at 30 years old, 10 years later. Delayed gratification. We're not denying ourselves of certain things. We're just doing a little delayed gratification. 30 years old is still young enough to have life experiences to the max. That's when you really start maturing for you, especially for guys. Once you reach 30, I believe, and you still can experience life on top. And then you can, even if you don't spend down this money, because this is a beauty of it. If that money continues to grow at a 10% compound growth, and say that the inflation rate is 3%, but you're pulling out 4%, guess what? Your money's still growing by 3%, even though you're pulling money out. You got 4% you're pulling off, 3% of inflation rate, because inflation is, we can't determine what the inflation is going to be. So we just general rule of between 2 and 3%. So I just say 3%. So that's 7%, but you still got 3% on that principal that's still growing. So really, that money, if you use a 4% rate of return, it's not going to run out. And if you want your money to run out, say, at 90 years, let's say you're going to live another 30 years. So at 90 years old, you want to be zero. You can just start drawing out more money. You're still healthy enough to travel and do all those things. Once again, it's tax-free money. But it's about mind transformation starting early. You can even stop calling it Coast Financial Independence, and your money will be there waiting for you. Talk to you guys later. Have a good day.